descended.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black Powder Podcast. This is Yasuke Fett. Once again, the primer's been hit and the powder is lit. It's time to get on target. With me today, I have another special guest. Goes by the name of Rod Mills, and he definitely knows what he's into whenever it comes to the Second Amendment. Rod, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hey, thank you, guy. My name is Rod Mills. I'm the owner, operator, and instructor of Scorched Firearms Training. Scorched Firearms Training is pretty much a firearms training company that we primarily base our instruction on new people that are coming into the firearms industry. However, we're not limited to people that are experienced and experts. I'm a former military police officer in the United States Army. Got over about pretty close to about 30 years worth of firearms experience and knowledge. And, I just want to be able to give back to the public all the know-how that I've learned over these years and give them the type of training and quality training that they would need to be able to protect themselves out there in this world today.
That's a very big mission you got there, but I'm glad you're doing it, man. And I got to say, looking at your website, I really like the fact that you put out every single review that you've gotten on your business, and you're actually putting out anything that you've been involved in as far as press interviews, other interviews on other podcasts, and even on your YouTube channel when you've got your actual students training and learning, and especially the pictures as well. So I really appreciate that. And if anything, it's good to see that we're getting a positive image put out there, because it goes against the narrative that common everyday media has about Black people in firearms. We're supposed to be walking around with our pants sagging and extendo clips and everything else, which, oh God, I said clips. I'm sorry, extendo mags.
Don't worry about it, man. The one thing with me, man, I always want to, I'm a Black man first. And hey, I'm no stranger. Hey, this is a white man's industry. But the one thing that they can't take away from me is my experience and my knowledge with firearms. Nobody can take that away from it. Once you've gotten it and you continue to uplift yourself and you're willing to learn, no one can take that away from you. So, but yeah, I mean, at the beginning, I got my naysayers at first, but soon after that they realized that, okay, this guy knows his stuff. Anytime I go to a gun store, first thing I always make it known that, hey, I'm a range safety officer, I'm an instructor, I'm a vet, former law enforcement, I'm Black, so I'm sort of a unicorn if you think about it, but quickly, I mean, the thing is that once people realize, no matter what race, that you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about, and that takes the respect level to another level at that point.
And that's what's up, man, especially the respect level. And, even though this is, let's just say, a mainly white-oriented type of society whenever it comes to the Second Amendment, as of 2020, we have actually had more members of our Black society increase their, if you would, first time gun ownership, because and I keep reading the numbers over and over again in every single podcast, but there was at least and this is according to CBS and Forbes, there's at least a 58.2% increase among Black men and women as of 2020. Number of firearms purchased in 2020 was actually 23 to 40 million. So if you look at the breakdown, though, 9.3% of Black men own guns, 5.4% of Black women own guns, versus the 55.8% of white men that own guns and the 16.6% of white women that own guns. And you also look at the 39.69 million background checks that were done in 2020. All those stats basically say that, end of the day, everybody pretty much has a firearm in some form or fashion. But when it comes to Black society, seeing as how we were a majority of those purchases in 2020, we really need to catch up as far as the education.
Oh yes. We're still behind. No matter, even though with those numbers, we're still far behind our predecessors, of of the white race. And I'm not trying to make this a black or white thing, but the main thing, it is what it is. They have more guns, they have better training. I'm not, why am I going to say better training? They have more training than us. But a lot of, like, even last year, my business went up about, I would say 250% from the year before, previous years. And, a lot of my clientele are women. Now, I do have, I train anybody, but the majority of my clientele are Black women. And, I always ask them, I say, well, what's your reason for now? Why you trying to do this now? And, a lot of them said that they were afraid of the way the world was going. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, this has always been here. I said, you're just waking up now. But I will say this, one of the good things about Trump presidency is Trump presidency is good for business. And I tell you, not only did the instructors do better as a whole, you got to think gun stores did better, especially when the fact that Biden won. At that point, then you got people that were going out purchasing weapons left and right. All of last year was a record, and we're actually on a pace for another record this year. But I think I kind of tend to think forward when I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, and mark my word, 2023, 2024, watch and see, is going to really go up then.
Yeah, hopefully, because I really hope the price of ammo goes down as it continues to increase, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, that's one of the negatives of everything is the fact that ammo did go up. It's slowly going back down, but it still ain't gotten back down to where it was in 2019, 2018. I mean, right now you're still paying about $20, $22 for a box of 50 Full Metal Jacket 9mm rounds. So whereas before you could do that at $10 or $11, so.
Yeah, I know. I got a 300 Blackout myself,
and
yeah, I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm kind of one of those meme videos you see on YouTube where they're like, this is what gun tubers are going to look like during the ammo shortage. They shoot one round off, and then they're like, okay, that's my video for today. That's basically how I feel about everything.
Yeah, well, basically, what I've had to do is I've had to decrease the round count in my classes, in half because of the fact that, one thing, unfortunately, we as Black people, we don't look what we're willing to spend money on different things is not something that, as far as ammo is concerned. My prices are very, very economical for what I charge versus my white predecessors, okay, or my white competition, rather. But I still get people that say, well, man, why am I paying this much? So, and I'm always free to break it down to them. I'm like, hey, this is my charge. You got to get a range charge, the ammo charge. You can't shoot a gun without ammo. You can't shoot a gun in the backyard anywhere unless you live out in the country. And I don't live in the country. I live in an urban area. And then, the instructor has to get their money, for their whatever they do. So, but we'll spend money out there on vacations, Jordans, Gucci, all of that. But we, for some reason, will not spend that money on quality firearms. Like with me, I tell all of my clients and even my non-clients, hey, if you need someone to go out to a gun store, hey, call me, text me. If I'm free, I'll meet you up there at no additional charge. I understand that sometimes there can be racism even in a gun store or sexism because of the fact that normally a a lot of times they'll herd you over there to the budget firearms like the High Points or the Lorsons and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, you get a white guy that comes in there, they're gonna immediately take him over to Glock, Sig, you know, Smith and Wesson, those type. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same playing field first and foremost. My local gun stores here in Jacksonville, they understand that when they see this logo and I'm coming in, they know that I mean business, and they know that to only show my clients quality firearms. I got about 10 to 15 different firearms that I have on my list, you know, for, you know, people to check out. And then I do include in that list a High Point because I want them to be able to see the difference between quality and lack thereof. And when they see that, they're like, oh, okay, we see now. Because if you don't know about firearms, you would think that regarding a firearm, only thing you need to do is pull the trigger and a bullet, and a firearm is a firearm. That's like saying a car is a car, or, you know, a pair of high heels is, you know, you got Christian Louboutins, you got Payless, and you got, you know, those in the middle like Coach and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, I'm like, you got to look at quality. And then the first thing I always ask folks, how much is your life worth? When they say my life doesn't have a price on it, I say, well, why are you picking the cheapest firearm out there that may or may not work when you need it to?
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I know I was kind of guilty of this myself at the beginning. People, once they start getting into the realm of firearms, they start thinking, okay, cool. So I've got a handgun. I got to get a red dot on it. And I have to make sure I got a flashlight and all the other bells and whistles. But you spend so much in a firearm to the point where you don't realize that you should also spend the same amount on training. My AR right now is kind of pimped out because I put a lot of stuff on it. But ultimately, if I would have held off on some of that stuff and went to go get training first, I think I'd be a lot more proficient and a lot more familiar with exactly how the operation of the actual firearm itself, and what to do during certain situations. Because for me, I had to kind of learn things on the field.
Right.
Not the field, but like at the range. You know, one minute I would have a jam. I think I might have gotten a def jam or something one time, but instead of calling the range official, or the range officer, I was looking at it from a logical standpoint, all while keeping the barrel pointed down range. Took the magazine out and said, okay, so magazine is out. How can I unjam this? Got to be careful with it. Let the bullet slide down. You know, just trying to troubleshoot the whole entire situation without being one of those people that's like, I'm going to look down the barrel and try and fix it. Because you know they're out there. We've all seen the videos.
Unfortunately, they are. And I'm glad you said that because for two things. One, we as men, we need to bite that bullet, that pride that we have, and go get trained. Because a lot of men feel that, oh man, I'm able to do this. But the one thing is, when I get a guy out in training, my job, I want to break you down first. I want to show you where your weaknesses are. Because what I don't want to do is to train you on things that you're proficient at. And my training is designed to make you fail at first. And then once we got to the point where we know that, hey, this is our weakness, then you go ahead and build upon and you train on your weakness and you make that one of your strengths. And then also another thing that you were saying, unfortunately, we as African Americans, man, we get a bad rap when it comes to things like when people be on YouTube, you know, when you got certain groups and organizations that may be out there, I'm not going to say the names, but they may have negligent discharges, you know, they're doing things that, you know, you can tell where they're not experienced. And then certain YouTubers out there, they will go out, and I was looking at a YouTube in Houston, They had some type of convention for Black YouTubers, I believe, and I'm looking at, and as me as a range safety officer, I was cringing at the point where I'm like, man, they didn't have a firing line. You had people in front of people firing pistols and rifles, and I mean, when you go to a range, any type of organized type of situation, man, there has to be a set firing line, and you got to have set rules and regulations. I mean, nobody should be downrange when someone is firing. There should be a safety officer out there that, that's in charge of that. And then also, man, by me being ex-military, I feel that you should look the part. I mean, unfortunately, man, you have people that, like you said, come out there with their pants sagging, a short sagging, and you just out there just shooting. You don't even look like you should be out there on the range. You like you just climbed out your bed. So a lot of things, man, I'm from the old school. First and foremost, I feel that you should look the part first. Once you look the part, then you should get the training before you even put anything on video. Double look at that twice and look at, because you got people out there, man, that will sit up there and nitpick you to death. They'll Monday morning quarterback you to death. And look at this. And at that point, then you can only say, yeah, you know what, they did the wrong thing. So I think that, man, we really, as a race, we really need to get together before we publish anything out there for anybody to see, that we got all our I's dotted and T's crossed. Okay. I just get tired of, especially on the safety end. I don't care what color you are. If you making major safety infractions, that could cost somebody their life, or injure them, for and I'm like, it makes no sense to me. Get somebody out there, that knows what they're doing, and everybody has to respect that person.
I agree. I definitely agree. Shoot, give me 1 minute. I got stopped recording. What the heck happened? My bad, man. I ain't mean that.
No, that's cool.
Because I'm over here trying to figure out what exactly happened, because it doesn't look like the stream was going through. Let me, I mean, it was going through, but you got to build it while you fly it, I guess.
Hey, I understand.
A great conversation, though. I mean, I'm definitely getting some good information, good content, too. So I appreciate
man,
that.
a lot of this stuff, man, me and other instructors, we've already had that conversation, so, really it's just a byproduct of what we've been speaking of.
Right. I definitely can only understand where you're coming from, because you probably got to deal with a lot of craziness every day. You probably see a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, like you said. I know and I got us back running now. I think we should be good, but
okay.
Following up on what you said, I know for a fact that the one thing that I greatly dislike seeing, and don't get me wrong, you might have a woman that looks good or whatever, cool, fine, yeah, do your thing, but like you said, you got to look the part, you got to walk the part, you got to learn the part. You shouldn't be going to the range wearing the skimpiest outfit you got, and like you said, you roll out of bed and then you should not be doing that, because that also opens up issues for many different problems to occur. And it's funny because ever since I got deeper into the Second Amendment, I can't even watch videos or play video games the same anymore. It's just so many different cringeworthy moments to the point where I'm like, they know they got the scope on backwards, right?
Yeah. or got a 22 AR-15 and it's jammed, or going out in the brush to go shoot pigs, and you got a spandex outfit on, look like you finna get ready to go to the strip club, with Crocs on. I'm like, come on.
Where did you see this at? Because that's new to me.
With Yoki Stirrup.
Nah, never. Is that a channel?
Yeah, yeah. If you look at her channel, you'll see. And you're one, the first, I mean, first and foremost, how do you go out in the brush to shoot pigs with diamonds all on your fingers, bangles and bracelets, and necklaces and earrings? I mean, you look like you're going to the club. I mean, and me as an experienced firearms instructor, the first thing I'm looking at is, you know, I want to make sure that this person is valid first, okay?
Right.
And then, you can always tell little things about a person to say, okay, if you purchase a rifle, what's the first thing you do when you purchase that rifle and you take it to the range? You want to zero it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who would go buy a rifle and not zero it and then go out try to go hunting? I mean, that makes no sense to me. I mean, why would you even do that?
Yeah.
So, and it's just, we have to be mindful of who our audience is. And we also have to be mindful that, hey, you know what? This could set a bad precedence, not just among African Americans, but women. I mean, if you're going out there and the cameraman shows your behind every damn 3 seconds, okay, well, we know that this ain't about you shooting a gun. This is about, how many ass shots we can get of you, which, that stirs credibility away from those ladies out there that take it serious, that are really doing the right thing. And you got one individual out here that's showing breast and butt, in the videos. And I'm like, come on, man, we're better than that, And
right.
that other than safety, that's the second thing that irks me a lot in our community, in the gun community, because at that point, I have a daughter. My daughter, when my daughter turned 23, she graduated from college, got a master's degree. First thing I bought her was a Smith & Wesson M&P. M&P. So I'm like, hey, and I told her the right way to do things. But if she looks on YouTube, she's got to see we don't have that much of a representation of Black women in the gun culture as it is. And, if we see one of the biggest ones out there, we're looking at her butt all the time. Matter of fact, I know how her butt looks more than her face does,
Wow.
And I'm like, man, that's I hate to see that in women, period, no matter what color. But I just hate to see that, man, because it sets a negative precedence. And especially when it comes to the men, if you want to get your respect, that ain't the way to get it.
Right.
Going out there knowing what you know how to do and handling business out there, that gets respect, not showing behind and cleavage and stuff like that. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, that's one thing I worry about, because eventually my daughter, she's going to end up becoming that age, because she's 4 right now, about to be 5 next year. And the last thing I want to have to worry about with her is the imagery that she's getting, because it's already bad enough you've got negative imagery that influences exactly pretty much everything in our society, as far as what people should do to be cool, how people should dress, it's okay to act a certain way, so on and so forth. So by the time she probably reaches 20, there's going to be a larger pool of all that negative information to I guess, for lack of a better description, drink from and consume. And then lo and behold, I'll look up and my daughter's going to end up being the exact thing that I'm afraid of. And I really don't want to see that, especially if she decides to take up firearms as well, because the last thing I want to see her doing is that whole gangster lean thing, 90 degree gun aim, and she just mean mugging. Like,
Exactly.
no, there's already enough of that. And I guess it's a good segue into our first question, which is, do you think the media representation of Black gun ownership has farther increased the false fear others have towards us?
I mean, we can control what the media puts out there, okay? when you have nothing but negativity out there, the media will tend to gravitate to that. I mean, I'm no stranger to the media. Hell, I was a part of the media for 13 years in the NFL. I worked for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a PR rep there. So I understand what the media's objective is. But, you know, you can always have pluses and minuses when it comes to that. You have to understand that, you know, you want to have more pluses than minuses. I do feel that the fact that in the public eye, we're a growing group when it comes to firearms in a positive way. Now, you can always spin that and say, well, man, you know, more Black people out there are buying firearms to have more crime. And to be unfortunately, that was something that, you know, for many, many years that we were looked at as upon like, okay, well, man, you're looking at a Black person going to a gun store, oh, who are they going to get ready to shoot up, or what gang are they with? Now you have educated Black gun owners like yourself and myself that, hey, we're consumers. We're part of that consumer environment. For me, I'm too old to be in a gang, okay? And I'm at the point where, you know, when I go to gun stores, I educate the salespeople. The first thing I ask the salesperson, like most of my students, I would say about half of all my students, I usually go to one particular gun store here in town. And when they purchase the gun, you know, the next thing I ask the salesperson, hey, how come you never asked that person, did they need a cleaning kit? Because you know that they're going to need one sooner or later, you know? And, you know, I'm also a prior salesman in the former life, you know, and I'm like, hey, why don't you go ahead and have them add an extra $13? I mean, what's a cleaning kit? $12, $13 nowadays? I mean, you know that they need that. Hey, have them get some break free or CLP or whatever. You know they're gonna need it. You know, go ahead and add that to that sale. If they're already spending $400 or $500 for a firearm, I mean, most people an extra $13 to maybe $30 on something that they're definitely gonna need is not gonna be something that is going to be looked down upon, you know. And I even ask my own students when they come for their concealed weapons license, I'm like, look, do you have a firearm? When they say yes, I say, well, do you have a cleaning kit? Nope. Do you have any type of, you don't have a cleaning kit, you don't have anything to maintain your firearm when you're shooting it? Nope. And then I go into the spiel. I'm like, hey, look, a gun is a tool, you know, and I point them normally at their vehicle, and I'm saying, hey, if your vehicle doesn't get maintained, what's going to happen to it eventually? It's going to break down. Mm-hmm. Same thing goes for your gun. I don't care what gun you got. You can have an AK-47. At some point, if that firearm is not maintained, is going to fail on you. And right. What you don't want to have that gun do is fail on you at a time when you are protecting your life.